This time it's my turn for some unbox therapy. So what I have here today are some parts that I'm going to use to upgrade my 9-year-old computer. Come on, let's check it out. So here's my old computer right here. Not here specifically, but right behind here. That's my old computer. It's a nice, tiny little box. And I've really grown in love with this thing. It's nice and compact. I can hide it easily in my room. So I really want to keep the box, but I want to upgrade the parts because they are aging and they're almost 10 years old now. So let's take this old thing apart. This is what the inside of a computer looks like. It's a little tight and snug in here, as the frame of this computer is known as a small form factor case. I prefer these kind of computers as they're easier to bring around to computer parties and hide away in a bedroom. So if any of my loyal subscribers strikes it rich and has a LAN party in their mansion, yeah, you know who to call. Anyway, let me show you what's behind the fan. This is the central processing unit, or CPU for short. You can think of it as the big brains of the computer. Unfortunately, this brain can't remember much, so it needs some accessories to help it memorize stuff. These sticks on the left, they're known as RAM modules. RAM stands for Random Access Memory, which is a bit different than what hard drives, USB drives, and SD cards do. Think about it this way. When your parents ask you to go to the grocery store to pick up some items, you probably try to memorize a shopping list, like coconut, cheese, and waffles. It's a quick task and you don't need to remember the list for very long. So you go to the grocery store and you try to pick up the items as quick as you can before you forget the list. This is essentially what RAM does. Memorize things fast, then forgets about it when you turn your brain off and go to bed at night. And that's where also the problem lies in RAM. It forgets everything when you turn off the computer. So if you need a more long-term solution for memorizing things, you'll have to do things differently. So let's say that your parents now ask you to memorize the ingredients for your favorite recipe, and you need to recall that recipe 1 year from now. I think most of us will pull out a piece of paper and write that recipe down. It's a bit time-consuming, but it guarantees that you'll have that list 1 year from now. Now this recording has become non-volatile, meaning it won't forget. And that's the purpose of a hard drive inside a computer. It's a form of random access memory that needs to store everything even when the power is turned off. Now disk drives, they used to be the size of a human body when curled up in a fetal position. This machine over here, it's known as a RAMac, and it weighed well over a ton. Guess how much memory this thing can store? About 5 megabytes, or the equivalent of just one song on your music player. Also, this machine was so expensive that companies could only afford to rent it at a rate of about $3,000 a month. It's amazing how much has changed in the last 50 years. Today's disk drives are anywhere from the size of a big hand to the size of a stick of gum. The smaller ones, like the stick here, have no moving parts, and that's why it's called a solid-state drive, or non-volatile memory. It's completely quiet, and that's why I'll be installing it today in this new computer build. But before we get there, a computer needs a big circuit board to connect the CPU, RAM, and the non-volatile memory all together. And that's what the big green board on the back is for. It's called the motherboard. So the CPU, RAM, disk drive, and motherboard are the 4 basic components found inside a desktop computer. Now, I'm not much of a gamer like this guy in the back of the classroom.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Whip him, whip him. Get him, get him, get him. No, 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 no. Rage quit. Hey, where did everyone go?
But if you're like this guy, you'll need to add an extra daughter card onto a computer, also known as a GPU, or graphics processing unit. As this computer case was small and compact, I had to purchase a small low-profile GPU so they could fit inside this case. Of course, with a smaller GPU card, I can't play high-end video games, but that's alright. I bought this computer so I can edit YouTube videos a lot faster. I swear, that's what I bought it for. Now, unfortunately, the holes in the back of my old computer don't match up with the new motherboard, so I have to be brave and cut out the back of this old computer so I can attach the new plate called the I/O shield to the back of the computer. Alright, there's no turning back now. Here's the first cut. Oh boy. And after about half an hour of questionable regret, I'm glad that the plate fit perfectly in the case. Let's take a look at what's inside the first box. Hey, a brand new CPU. Modern computer processors run very hot, and if they exceed 100 degrees Celsius, it might become permanently damaged. So to protect the CPU, a heatsink is required. Scientifically speaking, a heatsink is any matter that can absorb large quantities of heat to maintain a steady temperature. On Earth, the most natural heatsink are our oceans. Without water, the Earth can get as hot as 67 degrees Celsius. Some folks choose water coolers for their computers, but I'll stick to the standard radiator-style heatsink. To allow more efficient heat transfer between the processor and heatsink, I did have to add some of this gray stuff called thermal paste. It has a high heat conductivity, so it can take heat away from the processor and transfer it onto the heatsink. It is recommended that you run RAM under dual channel mode, as it is like having a highway with twice as many lanes. It just makes things move a whole lot faster. Just make sure that you purchase two near identical RAM modules, as they need to communicate in unison, kind of like two jugglers juggling the same pins. For this build, I chose to use a new form of drive called the NVMe, or Non-Volatile Memory Express. It's about 5 times faster than solid-state drives, and about 25 times faster than the traditional hand-sized hard drives. I did have an issue with clearance with this heatsink, as the fan did bump into the RAM modules, so I said, "Zip tie me, bro!" And bingo, back into business. Lastly, I installed a new video card. The 1050 Ti is currently the fastest low-profile video card that's relatively affordable at around $200. I really did not want to go into the deep end and spend about $2,000 over a video card. Of course, now for the real test. Will this PC boot up, or will some magical smoke of horror come out? Well, let's come find out. And here we have it, our first successful post. Looking good, looking good. Looking good. So I hope that you enjoyed this week's episode, and for more adventures like this, make sure you like, click, subscribe, and fling that bell button. Till next time, see you later.
Whoa. Oh yeah, I got you this time. I got you this time. Yeah. Hey, what just happened?
School alarm system now activated. Goodbye.
Uh-oh.